It was supposed to be simple. Frame the female lieutenant, destroy her career, and cover up their own corruption. The male officers had orchestrated every detail perfectly, from the planted evidence to the public humiliation. When Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell was ordered to strip for the security search, they thought they were watching the end of another troublesome woman in their ranks. But as her uniform came off and revealed the tattoo hidden beneath, the room fell into deadly silence. Because what they saw on her back was a symbol that belonged to soldiers who didn't officially exist. A mark that identified her as someone far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Before we continue this incredible story, tell us in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories of quiet heroes deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Fort Harrison had always been a boys' club, and Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell knew it from the moment she stepped through the gates 6 months ago. The whispers followed her everywhere. Too young, too pretty, too different from the weathered faces that dominated the command structure. What they didn't know was that Sarah had specifically requested this assignment for reasons none of them were clear to understand. The morning of October 15th started routinely. Sarah arrived at the communications center at 0500 hours, continuing her 6-month mission of documenting irregularities in classified transmissions, financial discrepancies in weapons procurement, and unauthorized communications that suggested corruption at the highest levels. Major Collins, Captain Rodriguez, and Lieutenant Colonel Brennan had noticed her growing closer to the truth. These 3 men had been running their operation for over 2 years, skimming money from defense contracts and selling intelligence. Sarah's meticulous attention to detail made her a threat they couldn't ignore. Their plan was elegant in its simplicity. Plant a sophisticated recording device in Sarah's quarters, ensure it would be discovered during a security sweep, and watch her become the scapegoat for their crimes. The device was military-grade equipment that could intercept classified communications, exactly what a spy would use. At 0800 hours, the base security alarm sounded. Colonel Brennan announced a security breach, calling all personnel to the main briefing room immediately. Sarah recognized the orchestrated nature of what was happening, but had no choice but to comply. The briefing room was packed when Sarah arrived. She felt the eyes following her, the whispered conversations that died as she passed. Major Collins stood at the front, holding a clear evidence bag containing the recording device they had planted in her quarters. Colonel Brennan announced that during a routine security sweep, sophisticated surveillance equipment had been discovered in Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell's personal quarters. The implications were clear: espionage, treason, betrayal of military values. Sarah's blood ran cold as she realized the conspiracy's depth. She attempted to defend herself, explaining she had never seen the device, that someone must have planted it. But her protests sounded weak, exactly as her accusers had planned. Major Collins suggested that perhaps Lieutenant Mitchell had been compromised by foreign agents, that her youth and inexperience had made her vulnerable. Captain Rodriguez added that Sarah had been asking unusual questions about classified operations, showing suspicious interest in matters above her clearance level. Colonel Brennan announced that a complete security search would be conducted immediately in front of the assembled personnel to maintain transparency and security protocols. Sarah knew refusing would seem like guilt, but submitting would likely end her career regardless. As she was ordered to step forward, Sarah made a calculation that would change everything. She had spent 6 months building her cover, but the conspiracy was so thorough that maintaining her cover identity might cost her everything. The security personnel approached with scanning equipment. Sarah began removing her outer jacket, then her tie, each piece inspected while dozens of eyes watched. The scanning equipment found nothing suspicious in her pockets, boots, or belt. Major Collins looked frustrated as each search yielded no results. When Colonel Brennan ordered her to remove her dress shirt for a complete upper body search, Sarah hesitated. This was the moment of truth. For 6 months, she had kept her real identity hidden beneath her uniform. Now that fabric was about to be stripped away. As Sarah's shirt came off, revealing her black tank top, the room initially saw nothing unusual. But when she turned around as instructed, the atmosphere changed completely. There, etched across her shoulder blades, was a symbol that made Colonel Brennan stumble backward in shock. The tattoo was unmistakable to anyone with proper security clearance. It depicted a stylized shadow in the shape of a dagger, surrounded by stars representing confirmed operations in hostile territory. Below were coordinates corresponding to classified mission locations across 3 continents. At the bottom were the letters SU followed by a number sequence identifying her as Shadow Unit, the military's most classified Special Operations Division. Colonel Brennan's face drained of color as he recognized what he was looking at. Shadow Unit operatives were legendary within military intelligence circles, spoken of in whispers among those with the highest security clearances. They were soldiers who handled missions so sensitive their existence was denied at the presidential level. Major Collins and Captain Rodriguez exchanged panicked glances, realizing their conspiracy had backfired spectacularly. They had tried to frame someone whose real job was hunting down exactly their kind of corruption. Sarah turned back around, her expression calm despite the magnitude of what had been revealed. The assembled personnel stared in stunned silence, recognizing that something fundamental had shifted in the room's power dynamics. Colonel Brennan found his voice, asking Sarah to identify herself properly and explain her real purpose at Fort Harrison. Sarah confirmed she was a Shadow Unit operative conducting a classified investigation into security breaches at the facility. She explained that her 6-month assignment had been to identify the source of leaked intelligence and financial irregularities detected by higher command. The recording device planted in her quarters was evidence of surveillance equipment being used by the real security threats on base. As Sarah methodically detailed her investigation, naming the 3 officers who had orchestrated the conspiracy, the room watched as the power structure they understood completely collapsed. Major Collins attempted to maintain innocence, claiming Sarah's accusations were desperate lies. But Sarah calmly produced a secure tablet containing months of documented evidence, recorded conversations, and financial records that painted a complete picture of their criminal enterprise. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank accounts, communication logs, weapons shipment records, and payments from foreign contacts created a paper trail leading directly to the 3 men who had tried to destroy her career. Colonel Brennan realized he was facing not just the end of his military career, but possibly decades in federal prison. The conspiracy meant to eliminate Sarah Mitchell had exposed their crimes to someone with authority to ensure justice would be served. As military police entered to arrest the conspirators, Sarah put her shirt back on, covering the tattoo that had revealed her identity. The personnel watched in silence as Major Collins, Captain Rodriguez, and Lieutenant Colonel Brennan were led away in handcuffs. Sarah addressed the room one final time, explaining that her investigation was complete and she would be leaving Fort Harrison immediately. Her mission had been accomplished, the corruption rooted out, and base security restored. This story reminds us that quiet heroes often work in shadows, enduring suspicion while pursuing justice. Sometimes the person being persecuted is actually fighting to protect everyone else. Sarah Mitchell's strength wasn't just surviving the conspiracy, but maintaining her mission focus when everything seemed lost. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who believes truth always surfaces. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because every quiet hero's story deserves to be heard, and every act of justice deserves to be remembered.